Hi, welcome to Chick Chat and Chill. Today, this episode is about don't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You got to change your tactics if you want to achieve your goal. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Laura Fickett, and welcome to Chick Chat and Chill. I am the owner of Fickett Financial Education and Business Coaching, where I love to help people make more money, manage it better, and retain it to build their wealth. A free consultation is all I ask. Let's have a little chat, see how I can help. Unless you don't want to improve your finances, then keep doing the same thing over and over again, which is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, let me introduce Antoinette.
Hello, I'm Antoinette. I'm the owner of Pixel This. So it's basically for all your design needs. Do you have a crappy logo? Do you not know what to do on social media? Do you need to run an ad? Are you looking for other ways to reach your target audience? Call me and we'll see what services best serve you and your company. So today, again, that's also very in keeping with don't keep doing the same thing if it's not getting your results. I know a lot of people business-wise, that's what they do. They think, oh, let me do this, and then they're not getting anything. So if anything, they double down on that.
Oh my goodness. Like sitting at the table at the casino.
Yeah. And there's a difference between being persistent and just being repetitive. Like there really are, it's not take your foot off the gas and just let up and do nothing, but you really need to gauge what you're doing and make sure that it's proactive.
The way I look at it is like Thomas Edison, they interviewed him and they said, like, what was the most important part of your shop? And he took them out back to this like heaping junk pile. And they were like, this is the most important part. He says, yes, every mistake I tweaked and then tweaked and tweaked and tweaked until finally like I came up with the invention. And that's how I always think of it. Like if something doesn't work, you don't just throw out the whole thing and start fresh, just like tweak it a little bit. And then if that doesn't work, like tweak it a little bit, like until you get something that works. And certainly like we're creatures of habit, right? So we just want to set it and forget it. But that doesn't always work. I mean, it doesn't work in the financial world for investments. It doesn't work in the social media world. Like the people are constantly evolving and changing, and it doesn't work. Like if there's something you want to achieve and you're just not getting there, you got to change your tactics, like in relationships and sales, in basically everything.
Yeah. And I think you said something important with the Thomas Edison thing that I want to kind of make light of, but where he changed a little something. A lot of times people think like, okay, this isn't working. Let me just start fresh with something totally different. And that you might have a really good concept, but the whole thing is tweak something and check those results. Because sometimes you're like 90% there and you're just missing that one little thing that's going to be the aha moment for a customer or for progress or for a goal or whatever. But if you have, you obviously took a lot of time and energy to put whatever into practice or, your general game plan into play. So don't throw it all out, change one thing one at a time, see, and be proactive in seeing what the results they are. If you're not tracking your results and at the end of the year, you're like, wow, I didn't make money. You really have to know like, well, what didn't make you money? Is sponsoring this event, was that you got 0 customers out of this, but maybe you did this one little thing. They say a lot of times there's that 80-20 rule, like people make 80% of their profit off of 20% of their income. And then vice versa. They waste 80% of their time on things that bring a 20% return. So if you flip that, and just go, wow, this one little thing, I'm making so much money, but I want to concentrate on all this other stuff. Get that going to where you can maximize that as much as possible and then grow.
I mean, I always think of, somebody told me a long time ago that when somebody says I can't, C-A-N-T, it stands for I certainly am not trying. I don't remember where I heard that, but it was like so long ago.
I like that.
And my kids don't like that.
Yeah.
By the way, when I say that. But I always think like when somebody says, oh, I can't do it, I'm like, I certainly am not trying. Like, because maybe you just can't do it that way. And I see in finances in our next episode, we're going to talk about, how to change up your finances when things happen, like, the economy or inflation or whatever. But in, like, say somebody has a job, right? And they're not getting the results that they want with their boss. And they're like, well, I'm doing everything I can think of. I mean, did you ask your boss, like, what can I do to get a better raise? What can I do? Did you have that conversation? Maybe that's the tweak you need. Or did you ask other people in the office that are more successful, like, hey, can you mentor me on how to, go up the ladder at work? Or so I think people, like, they're afraid to ask for help too.
Yeah.
It's not always, it doesn't have to be like Thomas Edison. I'm sure he wasn't in his shop all by himself. He'd be like, this doesn't work. And then somebody else would come up with some idea and they would try that and that didn't work. And so if you're finding, like, look at the team that you have around you, or, ask questions. If the goal is, I want to do better at work and I want to, get better raises and I want to get a bonus, and your boss doesn't seem to like you, be like, hey, I'm feeling that, our relationship isn't where I want it to be and I want to have a better relationship with you. Is there anything that I can do so that I can move up the company faster, or so that I can, get a better raise or bonus structure? If I was a boss and an employee, like, I work for myself, but if I had employees and an employee came to me and said that, I'd be like, wow, they're actively trying to figure out a way to do better. I don't want an employee that just sits there and, like, type, like, and just does the same thing over and over and over again. Like, Here's the ironic thing is I just tapped on the table and there's, like, this little sign here in the podcast studio that says, don't knock on the table. But I did it anyway. I tried something different. I tried something different this episode.
No, but you were talking about that, and it totally reminded me. I was working for this one company, and there was this one lady that I worked really closely with. And we got along not the best. And she was just difficult with everybody. And they kind of put me with her because I could pretty much get along with anybody, so nobody else wanted to work with her.
They thought you would bring her energy up.
Well, they just figured, you can get along with anybody, so you're not going to have as much of a problem with her as somebody who can't get along with everybody, and where it was always just fisticuffs. So it was one of those that, it was definitely tough, and we would, work together. And I remember I would always pray, like, please, God, let her not be so angry in the morning.
Let her call in today.
But, it was one of those where I would just, like, pray. And then finally, like, I even changed the way I prayed. So instead of asking, like, for her to change, I started praying, let me be the best asset that I could be for her. And I made it an approach to, like, praying for me to change, because ultimately the only one you could change is yourself anyway. And, praying for all these other people to change isn't probably the best tactic anyway. But that one little switch ended up changing our whole dynamic. And it's not like I went and did work any differently, and she didn't go and do work any differently, but just coming at it from that mind frame, we literally became best friends. And now, like, me and her are so close, and we ended up just, I can't even imagine not liking her now, because she's just such a good person.
How close are you? I've never even heard of this person. Where is this best friend competition?
I was talking about you. No.
My goodness.
Totally teasing.
I'm going to have to start changing my attitude when I come into the studio with her.
No, but even like something like that, because I think a lot of people, when they're in a job that, they think is terrible, the boss has to change and this has to change and all these things have to change, where if you just change yourself and your attitude, that's actually in your control, and you'll be amazed how much all those other things that seemed that I can't change my boss, I can't, you know what I mean? Yeah. All of a sudden now they just change magically on their own. So
now let's go to the home life, right? Because in home life, people are always like, well, I can't wait till the kids can walk, or I can't wait till they go to school, or I can't wait till they graduate. Then we're going to be free. Then we're going to be, be able to go do things. Or I can't wait till the pets pass away. Then we're going to, then we're going to have freedom.
No one would say that about pets.
No, they do. People do, because if you have 4 dogs, it's really hard to go away. because, it's hard to find somebody. We have a great pet sitter that we know, but it's hard to find a pet sitter. So like, I think, if you just stay in that frame of mind, then your life is going to pass you by.
Yeah.
Like you make a little change, be like, oh, I'm going to enjoy the teenage years.
No, but I think so many people.
You're not laughing. You're not laughing because you haven't been through the teenage years with a child, but there's something that goes wrong in their brain.
No,
like around 12.
Yeah, no, I have enough nieces, nephews. I know.
12. 12 is the problem. I don't know what the deal is.
But I think you mentioned a good point that I think so many people wait, and they're waiting for that perfect moment. Like perfection doesn't exist. Life is life. So you just gotta, if you want to go on vacation, go and make the best of it. Maybe,
try.
Yeah, do something. There's always a way to figure out something. And what I find too is if you come at something with like an imperfect plan, sometimes those are the funniest stories later because, you're just trying to make the best of a situation. And then this happens and that happens. And in the end, it's like sometimes it blows up in your face and you're just laughing. Yeah,
maybe you have a Chevy Chase episode, like National Lampoons.
Exactly. But it's like, I think that actually brings relationships closer is when you have these new and different experiences. Relationships get really like old when they get boring and predictable. So doing some of these things that are out of the norm is good. And then the other thing, like when we first started mention this topic, the one thing that popped in my head was, and we all know this person, girl or guy, where they date the same exact person with a different face.
No.
I mean,
sometimes they have very similar faces.
And a lot of times it's like similar faces, similar, whatever.
Similar height. Oh, I don't know what my problem is, but I always date 5'6" blonde, like girls that are like in this profession and whatever.
Emotional problems.
That never had a father. And I don't know why I can't have a good relationship. I don't know. Maybe try like a brunette whose parents didn't get divorced. I have no idea. Like try.
No, but I think a lot of times people end up without them knowing it, they're comfortable with what they know.
Creatures of habit.
So a lot of times it's not that you're trying to be egotistical, but it is kind of a self-preservation method where it feels more comfortable, even though it might not be the best situation, you know the parameters of the situation. So,
and really, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, so my daughters are in the dating field. My son, thankfully, has found his true love. So my older son, not my younger, the 12-year-old, like hopefully he hasn't found his true love yet. But like, my daughters have dated certain kinds of people and then they've tried like different kinds of people. And worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. And like, at least then you've gained more information.
Yeah.
You've gained more experience and you can say like, well, I liked this and I didn't like that. And I liked that and I didn't like this. But if you keep doing the same, like then you never gain new information to make better decisions. And then you stay stuck. So like even a vacation, so my mother always wanted to go to Scotland and she never made it to Scotland. Had she had just like bit the bullet, went to Scotland, maybe she would have hated it. Maybe it would have rained the whole time, whatever, but at least she would have been to Scotland.
Yeah.
What is the point in your whole life saying like, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to move. I have friends up in New England. I'm not going to mention any names because you probably have friends maybe up in the cold weather regions, Michigan, Minnesota, I don't know, that are always like, I hate the winter. The winter is so long. Like, I need to move south. And they literally like just never do.
Yeah. Just move.
Just move. If you don't like it, you can move back. Try something different.
Yeah.
You never know.
And I think the other thing too is a lot of times when people are stuck in this like pattern of they're not being able to achieve their goals or their whatever financial things that they're trying to achieve. I think a lot of the time they just, again, they're like, oh, if I'm calling a client, let's say, for example, like I'll call every Monday. But if you call with the same script, the same ask, the same whatever, it's not good. Like you just have to think of different things. It's not like, oh, I won't call them anymore, but maybe,
sunflowers one Monday with the note.
Yeah.
Like,
or
call and say something different. Like bark like a dog. I don't know. Like,
but I think that's it. And I know I had a family member where basically they had a divorce, and then basically their kids, they had a split custody, and the kids got sick of them and just moved in with the other, the husband. And then the mom would just like, they would try to text on their birthday or text on Christmas, and they wouldn't even respond anymore. And it got to the point where I was talking to them and they're like, what am I going to do? They don't even respond on their birthday. They don't do this. I go, because those are predictable texts. Like, of course your mom has to wish you a happy birthday.
Send a
or Merry
ballonogram.
Christmas. I go, what's going to make, something feel more authentic to them is it's a Tuesday and it's raining, and you go, oh my God, I just passed the store that, remember when 3 years ago we were here and you wanted ice cream and we went in, and whatever, and it just brings back a happy memory. But then they realize it's not the obligatory text, it's, you were on my mind and I was thinking about you, which is a loving text, like the wanting to connect.
It's layers, right?
Yeah.
You still need the happy birthday
Yeah.
text and whatever, but you need deeper layers of information. Like, because if you're not getting if you want a relationship and you're not getting where you want with your children, they try different things. Listen,
Yeah,
if you have
to,
oh my gosh, if you take the advice from children, they want something really bad, and they will. Actually, somebody gave me like a little thing that says raising children is like being pecked to death by a chicken. It's like totally true. Right? They want something really bad. They'll come at you and be like, "Mom, can I have this?" And you're like, "No." And they'll be like, oh, "Okay. How about if I do this?" No. Like, well, is there like anything that I could do to get it? No. Then what'll they do? They'll go ask Dad. Yeah. Let's try a different route. Yeah. Dad, can I have this? What did Mom say? No. Well, if Mom said no, hopefully this is his response. If Mom said no, then it's no. Well, what about if I do this? Well, maybe I could talk to your mother, because sometimes one parent is a little weaker, like in the...
Yeah, there always is. There's
right.
always the weak parent.
But like in that 2-second scenario, I've just given you like 5 different angles that a kid has gone through. Then they're little sneakies, right? Then they're like, well, she said no if I clean the whole house. She said no. But then they'll go and clean the whole house anyway. Some of them, right? Like they'll go doing something like super random, right? And then you're like, oh, then you soften a little bit, right? And then like they'll do something else. Like my son, when he wants to stall bedtime, he's like, Mom, I didn't have a lot of time to talk to you today, and I just wanted to tell you some of the things that happened at school. What am I going to say? Like, go to bed? No. I totally know I'm being manipulated, but I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah. No, I get
like
it.
kids, they are so good. And somewhere along the line, I think we lose it because I think we lose like the hope and the motivation. Life gets tough. And I think that's the main problem, is that we lose like the encouragement and the motivation. I don't have parents. They've passed away. Like I don't have somebody like cheering me on, like maybe kids do, to try new things. And I think the other problem why people get stuck not trying things is because they don't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And what I want everybody to hear and understand is that God created every single person uniquely for a purpose. You may not know what your purpose is, but you may be fulfilling your purpose right now and you just don't realize it. Maybe it's not good enough for you, but it's good enough for God. And so if you're not achieving something, it's not because you're deficient in an area. He gave you all the tools. You've somehow lost the hope and the encouragement and the enthusiasm and the motivation, and life has beaten you down and evil has gotten creeped in and all kinds of other stuff. Try new things and be the person that you want to be, because if you're born a certain way and into a certain family, that's not your fault. But if you die a certain way, that is your fault. You had a whole entire life to make something of it. But I think a lot of people get really discouraged because they fail and they fail and they fail. Well, somebody just told me, just one quick second, somebody told me that I've tried hiring a social media person over and over again. I've tried hiring employees. I'm done with that stuff. I said, you know what? I'm so glad that your parents weren't like that. You tried to walk and then you fell, and you tried to walk and you fell, and they're like, forget it. They can just crawl through life. Just forget it. They're obviously not ever going to walk.
Yeah.
So just forget it. I'm like, you didn't crawl into this meeting. So They're like, you're right.
Well, the other thing, like when you're mentioning kids, which is another thing to kind of pull from them. So if you ask a kid, like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, they'll say anything from like an astronaut to a policeman to I'm going to be a singer or,
A
whatever.
T-Rex.
T-Rex.
I've heard that.
No, but
A dragon.
That's actually my point is the sky is the limit for them. They have no money. Like they haven't finished school. They have no plan. They don't know how to come up with anything. And the sky is still the limit for them. And then as adults, here we do have finances. We do know how to research and
We're supposed to have more tools.
Yeah, we're supposed to have more tools that as adults, and yet our dreams shrink and not grow, which I think is ridiculous. So I think it's one of those that, it's not, can I do it? Can I not do it? It's like, how can I? You know what I mean? Because it's one of those that you could sit there and do and do and do. And if it's something that you're really compelled, I highly encourage you to do that. Like, I would love to be a singer. I don't have the voice for it.
Let's try.
Oh, God. No.
The hills are alive. Go ahead.
The hills are...
No, it's never going to happen for her.
No, but it's one of those that, it brings me joy. So I still sing and sing and sing. Am I going to sell out Madison Square Garden? No, but it shouldn't keep me from, well, if I want to do singing lessons or go to karaoke and get up there, who cares? Just have fun. I think people are so afraid that when they try something new, it has to be perfect. And that's why they're afraid to try something new for fear. It's easier to fail at the known than to possibly fail at something completely unknown.
I mean, and there's so many examples. There's a kid that made millions of dollars opening toys on YouTube. Come on now.
Yeah.
Right? But he tried, his mother tried, his parents tried, whatever. And if it didn't work, maybe they tried something else. Maybe that was their 100th idea for all you know.
Yeah.
But really, if you ask your brain better questions, you'll get better answers, right? So if you say I can't do something, your brain's going to give you all the reasons why you can't.
Yeah.
If you say how can I do something, your brain's going to give you all the reasons how you can. And so I think that's really important. I learned that in a Tony Robbins seminar, but it applies to all aspects of your life. If you ask your brain, if you say I can't lose weight, your brain's going to be yeah, it's because you ate dessert yesterday and you don't exercise and you basically, eat too many calories and you sit around like a potato. But if I say to my brain, how can I lose weight? It'll say, well, stretch in the morning. Maybe you want to do some yoga.
Yeah.
Your brain is like a microcomputer in your skull, and it's storing all this information, and you consciously have to ask your unconscious mind to pull out the information that you need. But if you ask it to pull out garbage, it's going to pull out garbage. And if you ask it to pull out good stuff, it'll pull out good stuff.
Yeah.
And if your brain doesn't have the information, the internet does. Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
No, exactly. But
no more Encyclopedia Britannica.
But it's one of those things. I think people are like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not doing the right things. You're never, it's not so much doing more. You're not achieving because you're not adjusting. And I think that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to work harder, but you have to work smarter. You know what I mean? Everybody knows, they'll read these stories of a Bill Gates or something where, they'd stay up all night and work on this. That's one success story, but it was something that drove him. It's not like somebody, put him with a whip, you have to stay up all night and do this, but he was fueled by his energy and he did that.
I can tell you he wasn't watching YouTube videos all night long, just scrolling there watching cats climb up curtains.
No, but
he was focused.
Yeah, but that's what happens. People are like, oh, I'm so busy. But if you look at their lives, it's okay, how much time did you spend watching cats crawl up curtains, or you know what I mean? And you'll get sideswiped because people wear busy like it's a badge of honor, and it really isn't. I know this one guy who would always be like, I worked till 10 p.m. last, he'd always show up late for work.
It's the most horrific contest in the world.
I know, and it's you really want to win that contest of
what do you get?
So many hours needlessly for no reason.
What do you get? A hospital stay?
I know.
What's the trophy?
I remember when I was working for this company and it was going belly up, chapter 11, and they couldn't afford, it was one of these things. I remember once they couldn't afford toilet paper one day. I was like, really? you know?
Should have a bidet anyway.
But but it was one of those that like we couldn't outsource a lot of things because we couldn't pay our vendors. So a lot of it was in-house and I was stuck working. And then I went on a ski trip because I just needed a break. And then my body literally took a break and I was like, and in the hospital for like a month. And my boss was like, see, you should have stayed here. And I said, even knowing all that was going to happen, I still would have went because I needed a break. No, we're not machines that can work 24/7, 7 days a week. That's just terrible.
No, I tell people, like, I say, okay, if you have a vehicle that you absolutely love, you just buy a brand new vehicle, but you let it run in the driveway. You let it run all night long. You never shut it off. Ever. You just let it run. You drive it places, but then you never put it in parking and you never shut it off. That vehicle is not going to last as long as you wanted it to. And your body's not going to last as long as you want it to either. So if you're frustrated and you're tired and you're like, you can't seem to figure it out, sometimes taking a break is the best thing you can do, to come up with a new idea.
Yeah. And a lot of times.
But I think people just they're so afraid of failure that they never even try to succeed.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Because it's just like dating that same person where the familiar, just feels safer than going out on a limb, where all of a sudden maybe dating somebody that's from a totally different culture or, if in general you always date, I don't know, whatever, like really, I don't know, like accountants that are neat and orderly and organized. And yet, you got to realize like people with certain personality traits, they're at the expense of others. You know what I mean? So if you're neat and orderly and organized, they're not going to be as spontaneous, just in general with that personality.
She's looking at me because I'm an accountant. I'm a CPA.
No. I'm just in general, but you know what I mean? Like there's
I'm not taking it
you're also not doing taxes,
No.
all the time, but they need that rigidity to,
it's
carry
a
out.
personality trait.
So you can't expect if you're, love talking to people and you love going all over the place, you can't expect like all of a sudden, this person's going to want to stay home every night and watch Netflix.
Well, we even tried a different dog. So we always liked the bully breeds. I love boxers, but we had pit bulls. We had American bulldogs. We've always liked those dogs. They have shorter fur. You pet them, and sometimes you can smell because the oils get on your skin. So a couple of years ago, we got an Australian Shepherd. Totally different than any of the other dogs that we've ever had. I love that dog so much. He's so smart. I love his fur. I don't love vacuuming his fur, but it's the only bad thing. I was vacuuming his fur. But, we tried something different and we found something better.
Yeah.
That's amazing. We could wrap things up.
I know.
The next one, though, is going to talk about the rising expenses.
Yeah.
And how do you change up your routine and your finances to combat when your expenses go up but your income doesn't?
Yeah. And it could be something, where you see the economy or something drastic happen, like a medical emergency or, you get fired from work or something. But we have an expert, literally in the chair next to me.
And it's 2026 right now, and gas and everything is going up. So it's relevant here.
So, yeah, definitely tune in. And until then, never stop laughing.
And never stop learning. We'll see you next time.